So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be continuing with the series of going through some big mark questions taken from some GCSE Maths higher past papers. Now as always there'll be a copy of the questions for you to have an attempt at before watching these videos. We go through the answers, and I'll also include the mark scheme so you can see that if you have an alternative method of getting the correct answer, whether it will be worthy of the marks. So before we get started, let's just have a quick glance at the topic breakdown of each of the questions that we're going to go through in this video. Now, as you can see, apart from maybe one or two questions, a lot of them are unique to one particular topic. However, question 3 relates bounds and density, and question 6 relates similar triangles and trigonometry. So let's get started working through these questions. Now, if you've not had opportunity or have the facility to print out any of these questions, then all you need to do is to simply pause the video as I read out the question and simply have an attempt at it, and then unpause as we go through the answer. So looking at question 1, it says the histogram shows information about 200 internet users, and the question is asking us for part A, how many of these internet users are aged under 20? Now for this, what we need to do is we need to work out, now with a histogram, the frequency relates to the area of the bar. So for this, for being under 20, which is really important, we only need to work out the area of the first two bars. Now to work out the frequency, the formula we're going to use is going to be frequency density multiplied by the class width. So looking at area of 1, well, the frequency is 1.5, and we multiply that by the class width, which we work out to be as 12, so that's going to be 1.5 times 12. Now for the area for 2, that's going to be 8 times the frequency, which is 2.5, and on my calculator if I just simply work out those two areas, so that's going to be 18, that one is going to be 20, add the 2 up and we get a total answer of 38. Then moving on to question B, it says this question is about the internet users in the UK. So I'm just zooming so we can actually see that a little bit clearer. And it says in the last 5 years the number has increased by 82%, corrected two significant figures. There are now 30 million to the nearest million, and the question is asking us to work out the maximum number of internet users 5 years ago. So for this particular question, what we need to do is to work out the upper and lower bounds of each of these. Now for an increase of 82% correct to the nearest percent, then that's going to be 1.815 to 1.825. Then for 30 million round to the nearest million, well, that's going to be 294,99999, and the upper limit for that is going to be 30 point, well actually it's not going to be that because that's going to be the other side, so it's going to be 29,500,000, and then the next one will be 30,499,999. Now for this, all we then need to do is to work out the maximum number. So for this, what we want is the biggest number of internet users, which is going to be this, and we want the lowest percentage, which is going to be this. So it's going to be 30,499,999 divided by 1.815, and we should have an answer on the calculator of 168044.07.16. Now we don't need to include the 16, so I'll leave that as my final answer. Then moving on to question 2, it says for us to work out the area of A, B, C, D. So for this, what we need to do is we need to work out the area of each individual triangle. So for this, what we need to do is, it's going to be worth, well, it is actually worth 7 marks, so quite a lot of marks for this particular question. And what I need to do is I need to recognize that I've got a right angle triangle and a non-right angle triangle. Now for the right angle triangle, all I need to do is half base times height, or base times height divided by 2. And for the non-right angle triangle, I'm going to be using half AB sine C. So for this, what I need to do is I need to work out what each of these sides are. So let's call this AB, let's call this AD, And for this, what I also then need to do is I need to work out what this side here is going to be. So these are the three things that I need to work out. So taking the triangle out of ABD, and if I draw that triangle here, and I've got this as being 57 and this is being 9. So if I then work out what AB is first, so this is going to be using SOHCAHTOA trig. So here what I've got is I've got the hypotenuse and I've got the opposite. So that there is going to be using sine. So sine 57 equals AB over 9. So AB equals 9 times sine 57, which on the calculator gives me an answer. Well, I'm actually going to leave it as an answer as 9 sine 57. Now, if I wanted to work that on my calculator, basically it's going to be 7.548 something something something. Then if I then want to work out what, well, let's actually start. One thing I didn't do was to label the triangle. So that's B, that's A, and that's D. So the next thing for me to then find is AD. So to find AD, I've got the adjacent and the hypotenuse, so that's going to be using cos. So cos 57 equals AD over 9. So AD equals 9 cos 57, which I'm going to leave the answer like that. But if I want to work with decimals, then that's going to give me 4.902 blah blah blah. So that's that bit done. So that's that done and that done. The next thing for me then to do is to work out DC. So let's just use a different colour for that. So let's go for this colour here. So to work out DC, this I'm going to be using the let's go for the sine rule. Now I can work out what angle this is because angles inside a triangle add up to 180. So 180 minus 39 minus 43 gives me an answer of 98 degrees. So that's going to equal 98. So from this I can then work out using the sine rule what it is. So I've got DC over sine 39 equals, and then we'll go for 9 over sine 98. Then from this what we then got is doing a bit of rearranging. I get DC equals, and it's going to be 9 sine 39 divided by sine 98, which gives me an answer of 5.7195. So then to work out the total area, well, I can do it in two steps. So area of ABD plus the area of BDC. And if I just move this down a little bit, so for this, the area of ABD is just the base times the height divided by 2, which are these two lengths here. Now I'm going to use the exact values, but you could use the decimal versions. That's entirely up to you. So I've got 9 sine 57 plus 9 cos 57 all divided by 2 plus, and then here to work this out I've got this is, I'm going to take my A as being this is going to be B, and that's going to be C. So I've got half times B, which is 9, times C, which is 5.7195, times sine of 43. And if I type that all into my calculator, either work it out separately or together, but I get an answer of 36.05239, and I could then round that up to 36.0, and that's to 1 decimal place. Now, depending on your rounding, they would accept any answer between 35.7 and 36.4. Obviously, you can have some rounding errors if you're using the exact values, or if you're using rounded answers as part of your lengths, then that would impact your sign. But as long as you're showing your full working out and your answers between 35.7 and 36.4, jobs are good. And moving on to question 3, it says that Jack is making spheres out of clay. A box of clay contains 25 packs. Each pack is a cuboid measuring 10 by 10 by 4 centimeters. How many spheres of radius 6 centimeters can Jack make from one box of clay? So for this, I need to break this up into several sections. So here, let's work out the volume of a sphere. Now for this, the formula is 4/3 pi times the radius cubed, which in this case the radius is 6. So it's going to be 6 cubed. And if I type that all into my calculator, I get an answer of 288 pi. Now I'm going to leave my answer like that because, again, I've not finished the question. So the next one I then need to do is to work out the volume of the clay. Now for this, it's going to be 10 by 10 by 4. And because I've got 25 packs, I need to multiply that by 25. And if I type that all into my answer, I get 10,000. So then the calculation I then need to do is 10,000 divided by 288 pi, and that gives me an answer of 11.05 blah blah blah. So the final answer is going to be rounded down, so it's going to be 11. Moving on to B, it says that a pack of clay has a mass of 500 grams. Work out the density of the clay. So again, looking at the formula, we've got mass, density and volume. So using that triangle, we've got the volume of a pack is going to be 4 times 10 times 10, which is 400. And we've got the grams as being 500, so then it's going to be 500. So density equals 500 divided by 400, which gives me an answer of 1.25. Now, again, just want to make sure that the units are correct. So here, I don't know why I've put grams there because that shouldn't be grams. That should be centimetre cubed. So just double check to make sure that the units you're using are the correct units you want for your density. Moving on to question 4, it says that a bag contains 4 red, 4 blue and 4 white counters. 2 counters are chosen at random without replacement. Work out the probability that the counters are different. Now there's several ways in which you could do this question. It is worth 4 marks, so it's entirely up to you how much working out you want to show. Now the best way for me to describe this on how you do this question is probably going to be using a probability tree, but if you are able to read into the question, you might save yourself a bit of trouble, but also working to get the answer. So for this, let's just take out our first pick. So that's either going to be, and I'm probably using the wrong colour, so let's not use one of the colours that's being used. Let's go for purple. So here I've got this is my first pick. So my first pick could either be blue, it could be red, or it could be white. And then for my second choice, it's going to be one of 3. So let's just do those 3 branches for each of those. And I've got blue, red, white, blue, red, white, blue, red, white. And then the outcomes are BB, BR, BW, RB, RR, RW, WB, WR and WW. The next thing for me to then do is work out the probability. So I've got 4 over 12, 4 over 12 and 4 over 12. Then with replacement means I'm going to have 1 less counter, so I'm going to have 11. So that's going to be 3 because I've already chosen 1 blue one, but I'm still going to have 4 of the other colours. Then here I'm going to have 4, I don't know where I've written 12 there, so let me just get rid of those 2's because those should be 11. And then that's going to be 3 over 11. That's going to be 4 over 11. And this is 4 over 11, 4 over 11, and 3 over 11. So now looking at the ones of the outcomes which gives me a different colour, that's going to give me a different colour. Basically, there are 6 combinations. Now each of these are all going to have the same probability. So the probability of getting a different colour is going to be 4 over 12 multiplied by 3 over 11. No, it's going to be 4 over 11 rather. And the total number of combinations is 6. So simplifying the fraction, well, I've got inside the brackets, I've got 4 times 4, which is 16, and 12 times 11 is 132, and I then multiply that by 6, so 16 times 6 which gives me 96. So it's going to be 96 over 132, and I can simplify that as being 8 over 11. So there is my final answer. Moving on to question 5, it says that OBC is a kite, and the first question is asking us to work out the equation of AC. Now I'm just going to zoom out just because with this question with B it's quite a big question mark and I need the diagram. So looking at the first question, the first thing I need to do is to work out the gradient of AC. Now for this I can use the graph, the diagram. So the height is 4, the base is 12, so the gradient is going to be 4 over 12, and it's going down, so it's minus, so that's going to be minus 1/3, and the y-intercept is 4, so therefore the equation of the line is going to be y equals minus 1/3 x plus 4. Now you could write it as y equals x over 3 or minus x over 3 plus 4, and you can switch it around. So if you want to write 4 minus x over 3, that would have been fine as well. The next question then says to work out the coordinates of B. Now the first thing I need to do first is I need to work out what this point here is, the intersection point of the line OB and CA. Now for this, well, we know that the equation of this line here is y equals minus 1/3 x plus 4. So the next thing I then need to do is to work out the equation of OB. Now with equation of OB, well, it's perpendicular to the gradient, so the gradient of OB is going to be minus 1 over the gradient of AC, which is minus 1/3, which gives me an answer of positive 3. Now because it goes through the y-axis, intercepts the y-axis at 0 at the origin, the equation of the line is going to be y equals 3x. So then from this, to find this point here, is basically the intersection point. So I then need to use simultaneous equation of, so is this right, intersection of OB and AC. So here, if I make the two equations equal to each other as they're both equal to y, I get 3x equals minus 1/3 x plus 4. Take that over, in which then I end up with is 3 1/3, which is 10 over 3x equals 4. And then solving this for x, I get x equals 1.2. So this x coordinate is 1.2. Now if you're not sure about how I've got from there to there, well, if I take the 3 over, I end up with 10x equals 12, and so x equals 1.2. So that's going to be 1.2. Now these two triangles here are going to be exactly the same, so this is going to be double of that, which is 2.4. So the x ordinate of B is going to be 2.4. Now if the equation of the line OB is y equals 3x and x equals 2.4, to find the y ordinate, all I need to do is just substitute x equals 2.4. So 3 times 2.4 gives me 7.2. So the y ordinate is going to be 7.2, giving me a B coordinate of 2.4 and 7.2. Now if you were to give your answers as a fraction, that would have been absolutely fine as well. Moving on to question 6, it says ACD and BCE are straight lines. Triangle ABC is similar to the triangle DEC, and the question is asking us to work out the area of ABC. So we want to work out the area of that triangle. Now to work out the area of the triangle, I'm going to need to use a half AB sine C, because I don't know the height. I do know the base of that, which is 18, but I don't know the height. Now the reason why it's similar tells me that this angle here is going to be the same as this angle here. So what I'm then going to do is use the cosine rule to work out what this angle here is. So let's just call that x. So to work out x, let's call that capital A. So that's going to be little a, got b and curly c. So then to work out x, it's going to be cos x equals, and it's going to be 4 squared plus 8 squared minus 5 squared all over 2 times 4 times 8. Then from this I can then work out what cos x equals. So cos x equals 55 over 64. So x equals the inverse cos of 55 over 64. So x gives me an answer of 30.7535, blah, blah, blah. So this angle here is 30.75, let's just call it degrees. And this angle here is going to be the same. So angle, let's get rid of that. So from this, I can say that CED equals ABC because it's alternate. So this is also going to be 30.7535. And then from this, I can then use the cosine or the sine rule to work out the area. So the area, well, this is going to be A, that's going to be B, and that's going to be C. So here I've got half times 18 times 9 times sine 30.7535. And you may still have that already on your calculator. And if I type that all into my calculator, I get 41.4, and that's to 1 decimal place. And the area is in centimetres squared. Then moving on to our last question, it says that Ella has 3 coins, or these coins it should say, that Jaden has these coins, and it says Ella takes one of her coins at random and gives it to Jaden. Jaden adds it to his coins, then Jaden takes one of his coins at random and gives it to Ella. What is the probability that Ella and Jaden now have the same amount of money as each other? Now for this, it's all about what you're writing on your sheet. So here what we've got is that to start with, the total amount that they both have is going to be 42p plus 22p, which gives us a total of 64 pence. Now for them to have the same amount, they must each have half of 64, which is 32p. So in order to the exchange, so what needs to happen is that Jaden needs to must choose, well, the coin that gets diverted, let's write that because I don't think they choose each other. So basically 20p needs to go in this direction and 10p needs to go in that direction. So the probability of the 20p piece being chosen at first is going to be 1 over 5. And the probability of a 10 pence being selected, well, there's going to be 4 coins there. And how many of those 4 coins are going to be 10 pences? Well, that's going to be 2. So then if I just multiply each of those two things together, I get 2 over 20, which equals 1 over 10. And that there is my final answer.